Welcome back from that break. And before we went on that break, we actually promised that we have the Attorney General of Enugu State, the Commissioner of Justice, who I also know that it's as if he comes from a lineup of legal practitioner, because his father, the Honorable Justice K.N. Udeh, was a former solicitor, in the Ministry of Justice for Enugu State. I have the person in person, Honorable Kingsley Tochi Udeh.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's the journey being an Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice. I understand very well that you have a versatile legal profession background in advocacy, academics, and consultancy in Nigeria and globally. So that means you're going to be doing justice to whatever it is we're throwing at you. First off, I want to start with, before we move over to the bills, you made a commitment on your first day, the very first day, I think sometime last year, to build and improve the capacity of the ministry to be a pace setter. I'm quoting you now, in the country. How far have that gone?
Thank you. That commitment, we have lived up to it. It's a thing we do daily. I wake up every day with the mindset, resolve, and effort to bring that to reality. And we have achievement already to show. First is the digitalization and automation of the justice sector generally. So we're digitizing and automating court processes.
Okay.
And not just for the court, but for the Ministry of Justice, the correctional centers, so that from any part of the world, anyone that has interest as a party to a suit or a counsel that is a lawyer can appear in the matter, all right, virtually, all right, and even inmates in correctional centers may not need to be brought to court for their matters to be heard, because you understand that sometimes criminal cases delay because of sometimes difficulties in bringing inmates in correctional centers to court. And in criminal matters, such criminal matters can't go on except the defendant or the accused person is in court in person. So it's part of what our digitalization and automation is doing, is increasing access to justice, is also reducing burden on lawyers in the Ministry of Justice, who can, from the comfort of our virtual hearing center in the Ministry of Justice, handle their cases. Of course, that has not, taken away the physical appearance in court in other cases, just that we now have options. And any person, when this is fully done, because it's in process, all right, we've gone very far, the virtual center is there. Then automation, filing of court processes, any part of the world. Because of course you know that the governor, seeing how disruptive he is, disruptive innovation, wants to transform Enugu State economy from where it is currently $4.4 billion GDP to $30 billion GDP. And to make that happen, we have to attract investors. We have to boost investors' confidence in our state, in the economy, in the whole system. And of course, investors would always want to know what the judicial system is like, what the legal system is like, if there's anything that goes wrong with agreement, how quick would there be resolution of such disputes? All right. So can anybody can they stay in the comfort of the offices in Manhattan, in London, and see proceedings going on from there, see that justice is not only being done, but seen to be done. So we are all pushing towards this. And then for the officers in the Ministry of Justice, one of the things that I have done is to lead from the front. I go to court almost on a daily basis. I've made attempts to boost their confidence and their morale. They see me as one of them because they see me in court. All right. So the times where matters handled by the Ministry of Justice, criminal prosecutions, and cases of the state, you see a lot of delays because of debt or lack of commitment, all right, in law officers to handle briefs. It's the thing of the past, because now they see that we are working towards their welfare. We are getting involved in their day-to-day issues, because it's when you interact with people, when you get involved, you wear their shoes, you know where it's pinching. So because of the interaction, the engagement, all right, we now see where the problems are, and we're meeting this, solving these problems, meeting these needs, taking care of their welfare, and their morale is being boosted. And of course, we are also investing in capacity building. One of the things that would make the Ministry of Justice anywhere peseta, all right, is the capacity of the law officers and the Ministry of Justice. So before now, it took weeks and months to draft a bill for the House of Assembly. All right, now we bring out bills, you know, within within just a year. We've you know, drafted and successfully passed through the House of Assembly 15 land-breaking, very significant bills.
How much
Yes.
digitally savvy are the members of the ministry? Because beyond moving over from being just pedestrian and then being digitally savvy, you also have members of staff, you know, welcoming these ideas. How much do they know about online broadcasting or online interaction from your point of view and what we are seeing at the Correctional Center?
Now, and of course, what the leadership style that I've adopted is stakeholder engagement and involvement. So we're not just doing contract for digitalization and automation. The members of the Ministry of Justice have taken ownership. What I do is just to supervise and see how it's going, but they actually, the staff of the ministry, all right, headed by the head of the head of PRS, that is Planning, Research and Statistics, that has a membership drawn from different departments, all right, that these members are overseeing the implementation of this digitalization and automation. So everybody is involved, all right, and of course the involvement of all the members, of course, increases, but starting from those that we could say are the you know, the pilots of or the reform champions, and of course this will certainly affect all the members of the ministry. So nobody is left behind. In fact, once I leave here, we have a meeting with all the law officers, the Ministry of Justice, from the Ministry of Justice, the headquarters, and the lawyers drawn from that we have posted to the various ministry departments and agencies. So there's continuous interface. So they take ownership of the things that we are doing, and actually that's what is giving them this renewed enthusiasm and a sense of ownership, so that this sense of is their thing, is government work would die, all right, especially because we're looking at professionals. These are lawyers, and of course they know it's in their best interest to grow in capacity. They wouldn't be in the Ministry of Justice or civil service forever, and it's one of the things I let them know from the beginning. You have to do this as if you're doing it for yourself. You're growing in capacity, so that even if for any reason you resign or you retire, you're grown in capacity to the extent that you can set up yourself and even make more income for yourself than you can even make in government.
Okay, thank you for that. I earlier said that you're a man that I think you're versatile in legal world beyond Nigeria, globally. I am actually curious to know what is the mandate of the ministry, because being a global legal practitioner, an attorney general, is the person meant to also be a commissioner of justice? Mm-hmm. Or is it not a separated office?
No, it's not the attorney general is also the Commissioner for Justice in the state.
Yes.
All right. So the offices are fused in one person or one office. He's also the chief law officer of the state. It's a very onerous, very sensitive office, and Enugu State should thank His Excellency the Governor for making the choice
to fuse them together.
Well, it's the Constitution that fused them together.
That's what I'm saying. Is it meant to be? Is that Constitution right?
Yes, it is right.
To fuse them together.
It is what the Constitution has, and that's what we've run for decades within the 1999 Constitution and the previous 1979 Constitution, and even those dating back. All right, and we've not seen it cause problems for the state or the federal at the federal level, because it's the same at the federal level. Of course, there have been arguments about severing the office of the Attorney General from the Commissioner for Justice, but what is important is looking at the national circumstances, what do we want? What have been advantageous for our country? And that's what we should practice. And
because it looks like the person will be influenced, by the government.
Yes.
On a personal note, do you think it should be fused in one?
Yes.
Well, it's not what I think. For me, it's what has it been working. Now, the question has always been that the Attorney General should, whether the Attorney General wouldn't be influenced by
the government.
The government, because it's an appointment, a political appointment. Then the question is, the Attorney General, even if it's severed from the Commissioner for Justice, will the person fall from the heavens? The person will still be by appointment. Yes or no?
Of course it will.
Yes or no?
So let's get down to the issues, which is the 4 bills signed last week by the current administration.
Yes.
Why were they signed, and what are the implications of these particular bills that have been signed?
The governor signed 4 bills. The Public Ranch Management Law, the Property Protection Law, Environmental and Climate Protection Law, and then the Sports Development Fund Law. Now, these laws handle various aspects of our state economy. Of course, the Sports Development Fund Law creates a fund, all right, where government would earmark certain amount of money, and of course would also attract funding and donations from well-meaning Nigerians and foreigners as well, public-spirited organizations that are interested or keen on development of sports. And of course, you know that sports is a billion-dollar industry. So because we're keen on moving our GDP exponentially from 4.4 billion US dollars to 30 billion US dollars, we have to get everything into the mix. So from sports, we have to leverage the huge economic potential in sports, and it requires money. And of course, you know that the majority of players in that industry, all right, are youths. So we also would want to use sports for youth development, use sport for economic development. So that law sign would boost sports and youth development, transform sports in the state from just being for recreation, all right, and
so the government of Enugu State, created that funding for international organizational attraction.
Yes.
All right. So it's you have also stated that it would assist in creating some job employment for people of Enugu State.
Yes.
I'm thinking truly, because something like that existed in the past and we didn't really see the results. What is the willpower behind this particular one?
We have, of course, you look at the antecedent of the stakeholders those involved in implementing the law. You look at the antecedent of the governor. Some people are even saying that he's running too fast. So from day one and every day from the inauguration, you see energy. You see movement. You see effort being made daily to actualize promises made. So this is one of the promises. Sports development, developing sports into business. All right, so it would be implemented. It would settle. If it will not be implemented, he wouldn't sign. This is not for political correctness. And then, of course, you move into the property protection law. The property protection law is a landmark law, right? Because if you, of course, you're an Enugu and you know the problem associated with land grabbing and the dispute surrounding land. I'm the Attorney General, and we handle criminal cases from all parts of Enugu State. I can tell you, a significant number of murders, of violence, malicious damage of property, all right, stem from land disputes.
In Enugu?
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yes. From different locations. From different locations. All right, people forcefully wanting to go into a land that they assume is theirs, or they claim is theirs, all right? And then those that are already in possession would also want to fight back. So it's cost a lot of violence and criminality. So what this law seeks to do, and will begin to do immediately, is it prohibits forceful entry into land. For whatever reason, whether you say you have title or not, all right? And also prohibits selling and reselling of land by the owners without, when you see it happening around Enugu, all right? So you see a community sell land, and then having sold, they also resell
to
another person. And then also the incidences of where a member of a family sells a family land, all right, without the consent of the family member. So all these problems is what this law seeks to address. So if you have a claim to a land which is in the possession of another, you can't use violence to enter it. And of course, why a lot of people also may want to resort to that self-help is they will normally say that land dispute takes a lot of time.
True.
And like it will be said in Igbo, ana azane onyeji anakonye. So possession is largely, all right, one of the ways of claiming ownership. So that's why you see this violence. So the person in possession, another person that thinks is wanting to go in, and then violence breaks out.
Yeah.
Murders and all right? So we're saying, the law is saying, if you have a claim in land which is in the possession of another, report to a unit that's been created for this.
How many man panel?
Well, it's not a panel, it's a unit within the office of the Attorney General.
Your office.
My office.
Okay.
Because of course, we have the law, we have access to the
database,
to the all the MDs, including Ministry of Land, to see who owns what. All right. So, and of course, because it's Ministry of Justice, of course, that the custodian of the justice of and law of the land. We even have a statutory body called the Citizens' Rights and Mediation Center. So we deploy all these conflict resolution mechanisms very fast, all right, to identify who actually owns what and to the extent, and then attempt to resolve this and get the rightful owner quickly into possession, so that the conflict would be resolved, would end without allowing it to fester into violence. And then you see that even sometimes when people have land disputes in the court, you still see violence.
So, because I want to move on from the land issue. However, there is something you said about ownership, and dispute. What would one do to be able to curb it? I own a land. There's nobody fighting with me now about it. How do I secure it so that nobody encroaches? That's my question on that land. Because what I was about to go into was what for you to. So I have two questions now. So the second one is, what is the Enugu State Public Ranch Management Law about? But first, about the land, how do I secure, so that that, for instance, a man marries a wife. This is my wife. That's why she's wearing the band. What do I do? Nobody is disputing it's my land, but I just don't want to fight. I just love peace. How do you ensure that? What's put in place for that?
Very well. There are different layers of this. First is, even before you purchase land, you do any transaction in land, it's proper to conduct search in the Ministry of Lands, which ought to be the custodian of information regarding land and land ownership and interest in land. Now, Enugu State is even going far, all right, going in advanced stages of what we call geoinformation and geological information management system, all right, that will capture various aspects of land, every detail relating to land. So in addition to what we already have now, all right, we're making it advanced so that every information, even satellite pictures and imaging of land, all right, issues relating to land, on the land, under the land, over the land, you would get. So you conduct a search, know whether the land is encumbered, whether it's a dispute and all, and whether the person selling to you has title. Because it starts at that point. Because if
you already have the land.
So now, if you already have the land,
okay.
If you already have the land, one other thing that you ought to do is to see that your interest in the land is registered. So that if somebody wants to sell the land to a vigilant purchaser, the vigilant purchaser will certainly go to the Ministry of Lands to check if that land really belongs to the person that wants to sell. And if the person says that it doesn't belong to the person wouldn't purchase it. So if your interest is not registered, all right, if the person that sold to you, for whatever reason, all right, or part of the person that sold to you, sells to another person and your own is not registered, your interest will not be seen. So it will be regarded that, well,
how much does it cost to register it?
Oh, well, it depends on the location and the size. Then another thing that is also, it depends on the location and the size.
I would want you to state it so that
believe me, it depends on the location and the size. So it varies depending on the location of the land and the size of the land. Okay. All right. So, and then another thing that should be done is act of possession. So it's usually risky, all right, to have a land and leave it undeveloped in whichever sense. At least put a perimeter fence.
But we don't have money to put it.
If you don't,
we will never exhaust that. So let's move over to the grazing, yes, the ranch, because people want to know what is the Enugu State Public Ranch Management Law about. It's not just about saying it. It's I want to know what is it. Does it mean I shouldn't go close to a cow? Does it mean that one cow is equal to a human being? What is it about?
One, we, through that law, we're actually projecting into the future. We are leveraging modernity to solve multifaceted problems associated with cattle rearing, things related to beef and meat, selling of meat, how cows or other livestock are slaughtered. Also the issue of health, public hygiene. All these are subsumed in this law. So the focus is not just stopping open grazing, but making facilities available for anyone that wants to rear livestock, especially cattle. All right, so you wouldn't say you are prohibiting open grazing when you've not made available, all right, the facility that would, support the businesses of those involved in cattle rearing. So the public ranch is, we have taken massive areas of pasture-rich land, all right?
Where's that?
There's one that that is going on now at Oji River area, and there will be others. All right. So and now, please, it should be on. It should be taken noted that these public ranches, all right, are not for a specific people. It's for everybody that has interests in cattle rearing. So there will even be training on how to handle animal husbandry properly. There will be veterinary services. There will be proper modern abattoir. There will be cattle market. So that if you have, for example, cattle and you don't have wet, the space, land space with pasture that you can put the cattle there, and a space will be given, but nobody will live there because we don't want colonies. So it's the cattle's only, and they'll be provided with veterinary services and all that is required to make people make profit from animal husbandry, from cattle rearing. And then of course from that space we'll also have training for those that are interested in establishing modern ranches, private modern ranches. All right, so that with this there will be an end to farmer header clashes relating to open grazing.
There are allegations that this land acquired, that the government is looking to give this land or gift this land to Fulani people. I mean, I'm sure you must have heard that allegations over and over again. There are people who are in some communities who are even saying that it is wrong for the government not to even compensate those who have these lands that the government has acquired, especially around the issues of access. They said that the government promised them University of Agriculture, and so now they're hearing something different, that they are cutting a significant portion of their land for grazing or for ranching. That was not what the governor promised them.
The governor has not reneged on any promise that he has made. That's one. Two, any land acquired by this government always comes with compensation. Three, the space that has been alleged to have been acquired for Fulani people, it's my responsibility to clear the air. There's nothing like that. We're not acquiring any land for any specific people. We have acquired land for development for any legal resident of Enugu State that wants to go into the business of cattle rearing, abattoir management, cattle marketing. It's business, and it will be handled as business. And also, when we acquire land for public interest and for development. So would it benefit us to leave swatch of land lying fallow? Nothing is happening there. Wouldn't that provide shelter for criminal elements? They hide there and you wouldn't know what's going on. But now government is bringing development to this massive land across the state. So either we're putting it to use as agricultural land for cultivation, and just like we now have at the Adani Palms, where brought even investors to invest in that and grow the scope of palm production and associated industries within that area. So for other areas that we have acquired, so it's either for cultivation, ranching, housing project, industrial development. So we're not taking this to ourselves, and there's nothing that we're doing that we're not doing for the interest of our people.
How do you assess this particular land? How does an individual who's from this state or maybe around assess this land? What are the procedures?
Now there's going to be not going to be. There's already established in the law a ranch management agency.
Okay.
So you apply.
Okay.
When you apply, the ranch management agency would process your application. You follow through, and it will be done following the processes, and we would also through that process ensure that it's only legitimate people keen on economic development without sabotaging security that would have access to that place. And again, when cattle are roaming in the wild, if they are captured, they'll be kept there, so that this practice of killing cows that are seen roaming wouldn't be the case. We're civilized people, and we are forward looking, so that all the interests are all covered within this law. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's our state, it's also our country, and we're opening our hands to those that have legitimate business interests to trade here, to do business here, to play here.
Okay, sorry, I had this funny question in my mind. There's also a bill concerning environmental and climate protection law.
Yes.
So there's a thought that came to my mind. Does this law also apply to, there are some certain people that mean known to draw rain?
The rainmakers. Rainmakers, yes.
Is there a law that says, you shouldn't draw rain, man? Especially, because knowing that, sometimes you're having an event and I hear that if you don't give them something, they just come sit there and you receive some showers until your event is through. So does this law inculcate them into it? Just a light to the
oh well. We encourage science. So if rainmakers are scientific in their ways, why not? We would encourage them, all right, to deal according to the law. But what we know is that the environmental and climate protection law, which is actually very important, it's a landmark law. It's a groundbreaker, because until now we didn't have a comprehensive environmental protection law in the state. Yes, we didn't have. So we had a SWAMA law and all, but not one dedicated to the whole of the ecosystem, environmental and climate protection. So, and even within that, you see how businesses should run, especially businesses that affect the environment, the mining business. You see how it should be done, even though mining is within the exclusive legislatively, so it's for the federal to legislate. Yes, but once it touches our environment, we also put in place certain requirements that will have to be met, all right, so that you can do your businesses, all right, without damaging our environment.
So that is actually what that it entails, that environmental law.
Yes, it's to protect the environment, not just to protect the environment by enforcement of environmental protection regulations, but also encouraging, all right, investment in environmental related matters like carbon buyback and reducing our carbon footprint. These are all things that this environmental and climate protection law, project and address.
With the flooding, we understand that NEMET has even projected that Enugu is among the states that would be experiencing some flooding as we get into rainy season proper. Does this, accommodate this flooding incidences?
Yes. Now, of course, you know that we have the Ministry of Environment and a professor with expertise in environment, all right, is heading that ministry. And you would have noticed that our government is proactive. We don't react to things. We plan ahead and put measures in place to ensure that we safeguard life and property of our people, secure businesses, and of course boost the economy. So we have taken the warning of climate, and we are putting measures in place to ensure that the flooding does not adversely affect part of Enugu that would have been affected if measures have not been taken. So we've taken steps.
Okay.
And I believe the measures that were put in place would ensure that we're not adversely affected by that projected flooding.
Okay, you are the Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice in Enugu State, governing or putting together the three arms of government. I want to ask first, before I go there, just chip it in before you explain the three arms of government in Enugu State, how it functions. Before you answer it, one question. Do you think Nigeria is overtaxed? The people of the citizens and overtaxed and trickling it down to Enugu State. Do you think Enugu State indigents are overtaxed?
Oh, well. We're trying to bring as many legitimate businesses into the tax pool. You would understand, I agree with me, that only very few persons, citizens, organizations are within the tax pool. And we require the contribution, all right, of all citizens into the coffers of the public, that is a public coffers, a public fund, to carry out the massive development that we're bringing to the state. All right, so what the government is doing is actually expanding the tax nets to bring in those that have been outside the tax net. So not increasing taxes, but expanding the tax net so that those that have not been paying taxes could pay their taxes. And one good thing about what we're doing is that we're setting the development in front of the people. So they see what everybody's saying that we're working. So they see where the money is going into.
Yeah.
So you see the smart green schools in all the wards in the state. All. None is excluded. And people have been asking, can you cope with that? With all the things you are doing, do you think you will succeed in setting up? Of course, we are succeeding because we are not depending on the federal allocation that comes every month. We are generating funds. We are doing businesses that generating funds. We're also bringing more people into the tax net, generating funds for this development.
So from what you explained, it seems the state government has the best interest of the people at heart.
Yes.
But I know we did a vox pop, listen to Voice on the Street, and a lot of people are complaining. Yes, you talk about the fact that to generate, to those that are not paying taxes, to be able to pay tax. But you hear a lot of market women are complaining that the prices of things are escalating because you're taxing these people, and if the ripples, because it's just like I drop a stone in water and in a river, then it ripples. So the ripple effect, it's what people are sensing, that we are overtaxed, and that's why, because the man you're taxing is not going to bear the burden alone. You go to buy food in a restaurant, a standard restaurant, and you hear them put VAT. It's part of, by the time you calculate what you bought, because that's not the price you told me. I said, but auntie, VAT, you have to pay VAT. So that tax you're taxing them, I'm also paying it. So how do you explain that? Because lots of people are complaining.
Well, first is that they are taxable income. There are certain persons that are naturally, by law, outside the tax net. They have been exempted owing to the level of their income. Do you get what I'm saying now? So those are not the targets, because by virtue of their income, you can't even tax them. All right. Now, for taxes like you've mentioned, VAT, of course you know that we don't even tax properly in Nigeria. Yes. Check it.
I mean, you can only tax people whom you have actually given an opportunity to earn as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's what I don't earn as much as possible.
That's what I'm saying.
Wage is still 30,000.
So that's what I'm
and
saying.
Even some governors are not even paying the minimum wage.
No, see,
so how are you taxing people?
We're paying minimum wage in Enugu, and then expanding on that.
And
so
the minimum wage is the 60 or...
Well, you understand what I'm saying? That it's not all the income that we tax. There are those that are naturally, legally outside the tax paying pool by virtue of the level of the income they make. Do you get what I'm saying? And I know it's been implemented by the Internal Revenue Services. They don't tax everybody. They don't tax, for example, pensioners. All right. Okay. Now, for VAT, VAT is service tied. It's tied to the service or services provided. So if you don't want that VAT, don't go for that.
No, is it specifically for supermarket? What is it? 5% or 7.5%?
Now, let's leave at the percentage, but
it's important so that you know when
because even the supermarket could actually rob if you don't mention it, and people run with it. At least when they go to the market, they can tell the supermarket operators this is actually what
it was. It was 5, and then it has moved up to 7. All right. Now, and like I said, this tax is service tied. It's tied to provision of services. All right. And you discover that it's one of the easiest way of making revenue or generating revenue for public good. All right. A lot of people do not pay taxes. Yes or no? Yes or no? A lot of people do not pay taxes. So the one that is tied to provision of services are the easiest ones to generate or to tax. So if, for example, you want to hang out in a posh restaurant, a posh hotel, all right, you are given the services, and you also, from just a bit of it, you drop for the poor people there, that the VAT, the money generated, will be used to take care of their schooling, because from primary school to secondary school is free in the state. We are doing massive development. We are doing massive infrastructure that would make the income go round, because that's one of the intent of taxation, to an extent make the income, all right, within that economy to go round to an extent. Of course, it's not to redistribute wealth, but to ensure that money from various activities and services can be used to improve and increase prosperity. That is, of course, inclusive prosperity within that territory, within that environment.
You said education is free.
Education to in a particular level is free.
You said primary and secondary.
Basic education is free.
Is it sustainable?
It is sustainable. And how it's sustainable is, part of what will sustain it is taxation. I hope you know that it's taxation that is funding basic education.
Yes.
SUBEB is from taxation. Oh yes. It's money earmarked from various economic activities that are used for funding
you said,
basic education.
Sorry,
in
I'm
Nigeria.
not cutting you,
Yes.
but you said education is free. I remember sometime last year, I went to visit a community, and I asked, I could see the children weren't really the schooling, and they were telling, they gave me, so I wanted to pay for school fees for a number of kids. I don't know them. And they gave me the list of the things I'm to pay for. Yet you're here telling me education is free. Why then did I pay for those children's school fees?
You would have asked, is it a private school or
Is
a
it,
public school?
It's a public school.
Are you sure?
It's a community secondary school.
Are you sure?
It's a public school.
And they say they're paying fees.
Yes.
Fees.
Yes.
School fees.
Yes.
Interrogate that closely to be sure that it's school fees that the person has collected from you. Interrogate it.
So, but meaning
It's
that
not
it might be something else.
No,
It might not
it's not the
necessarily be school
student. I paid directly to the school for them. So it's not, I didn't give them money one after the
And
other.
they say school fees.
Yes.
You should let me have the name of that school, and we would interrogate it, because basic education in Nigeria, not just in Enugu State, in Nigeria, is free, particularly in Enugu State, is free. So please, and of course, you know that sometimes you would have a policy and you're running with it, all right, and there's certain persons elsewhere, all right, especially outside the watchful eyes of stakeholders, that may be flouting that policy. So we'll be happy to have details of that school.
No, you will get it.
So let's talk about...
So, but of course, people pay for external examinations.
school uniforms?
WAEC and
not necessarily,
so.
you are saying not necessarily.
No. Even school uniforms will now provide school uniform. We even provide feeding. When did this happen?
Last year.
Last year, which what month?
August.
Are you sure? Confirm the month, the date, and then let me know.
I will.
All right.
I will.
We'll take it
I
up.
will certainly.
What is the Enugu State government position on local government autonomy?
Well, our position is what the Constitution provides.
Which is?
Which is that the local government is to be run by law made by the State House of Assembly. And we have a local government law in Enugu State, which we're implementing, which, as always, we've never had any problem with local government administration and validity of what we've been doing as a state from 1999.
But the local government elections, or their tenure expired sometime in February, March this year, and there was no elections that have been called, even though I understand by October we would have that election, but there is still this lacuna.
Very well.
So
now,
why is that?
Okay, lovely. See, thank you for this question. When I assumed office as the Attorney General in August, I discovered there was already an existing suit, AA, Action Alliance Against NSEC, that is Enugu State Independent Electoral Commission. And that suit was praying the court, all right, to invalidate that is notice given by NSEC that was not up to 360 days as provided by the Electoral Act. All right, as notice for elections.
So the NSEC did not give that particular.
Now, the NSEC gave notice for the election, but was not up to that, even though our own law has provision for a shorter period of notice. But they challenged it in court, and the court, in its judicial reasoning, found that we should align with the provisions of the Electoral Act as it relates to notice to be given. All right? And because we wanted to abide by the court's judgment, even though we appealed that decision at the Court of Appeal, it's at the Court of Appeal now. So instead of not doing anything, instead of saying going contrary to the judgment of the court, and of course it's a government run by rule of law. We said, okay, let's extend the time, because they were saying it was too short and it didn't align with proper electoral practice world over. That should give sufficient time for program of political parties to, including primary elections, to hold. All right, so that they can get prepared and give their best in the local government election. So we said, okay, instead of, even though we challenge the decision, but let's extend the time within which the notice of election will be given to align with the judgment, while we challenge that decision in the Court of Appeals for subsequent elections. All right, so that you see that we are not interested in having a local government council that is not democratically elected. We didn't even bother with setting up a caretaker committee.
So who runs the local government?
Is the HPMs, head of personnel management, which are civil servants.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that constitutional?
It's of course constitutional. It's in the Constitution. So it's either council or those that carry out the function of the council. It's certainly constitutional. Of course, the nature of the house is a vacuum. So you can't extend the tenure of those that my office whose tenure expired in February. You cannot extend their tenure. So what we have done is the proper thing. The civil service structure within the council takes over the running until the election. Of course, just like you mentioned, the election will hold in October, and that will be the...
Sorry, just the last one.
Yes.
Does HPM, this head of personnel management, are they influenced? Is it influenced by the government, by the state government, or is it independent, really independent, not like INEC independent, like independent people?
These are public servants.
Okay.
Elected local government chairmen, when they assume office, are also public servants.
Okay.
Influences go on, masses influence the government. I hope you know that. We all influence one another. Oh, yes. You influenced my coming even though I didn't plan it from the beginning. Oh, yes.
Okay.
So the influence the most important thing is what form of influence.
That's
is
what
it
I was about to get.
Influence?
Yes.
And if it's positive influence, so be it.
Thank you,
Thank you
Honorable Kingsley Tochi Udeh. It was really nice having you, and I hope when next we call you again, you will promptly answer.
You will influence me.
Okay, you got me. Okay, we will try. We will do our best. Okay, that was Honorable Tochi Kingsley Udeh, Kingsley Tochi Udeh, either way, however way you put it, the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Enugu State, really educating us on both the bills that have been put out, what the Enugu State Judiciary is about, and so on. And I know you might have a lot of questions. I believe that so many things has been expounded, has been exposed to us, and we've come to a reasonable understanding, you know. We will continue this relationship. We will know that we will get there someday, and we'll pray for the best for the government, and we hope that it pushes us forward. But however, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. We have some